All right, fellas. How many Dragon Stones do you need to get to 500 coins to reach Pity? So I think this is a very interesting question. So the number that keeps coming up is 2,500 Dragon Stones. And we all know if you just summon, if you are an absolute whale or you've saved up for, 5-6 months, then we know you can have 2,500 and you don't have anything to worry about, right? You can just get the unit with Pity, even if you are unable to acquire them with just your normal summons, right? So this is the good old-fashioned Dokkan Battle summon rate calculator, compliments of the Dokkan Battle wiki. So shout out to you as always, Dokkan Wiki. This one's been around for a long time, but as far as I know, it still works. It's still relevant. So we can go to any sort of, summon that we want to do here. If you guys are not privy to this. So the type of banner is guaranteed SSR, right? We know that. Pretty much every non-ticket banner is a guaranteed SSR banner at this point. They introduced GSSRs like, 7 years ago or something like that. It's been a long time, right? And let's just say that we are summoning for Broly. So the number of featured SSRs on the Broly banner is 10, right? We know that. There are 10 featured SSRs. I had to look this one up. On the JP banner, there are, count them, 332 unfeatured SSRs. Now, that is not, it does not matter how many units are ever added to the unfeatured pool. It's just going to decrease your chances of pulling unfeatured units, right? So that number doesn't really matter, but for the sake of correctness and making sure we're being as factual as we can here, that is the number. If you were summoning on the Super Saiyan Trio banner, that banner, because, you can't pull yellow coin LRs or, carnival LRs basically on that banner, that one has 285 unfeatured SSRs. But I figured, considering this is a Broly celebration, we'll just use Broly as the example. All right, so normal banner. It is not a monotype banner. The monotype banners are a bit skewed in the direction of featured units, I believe. And same thing with the Super Dragon Ball Heroes banners, right? So those are skewed for featured units, 7% featured rates and 3% unfeatured rates. So just keep that in mind. So we are on a normal banner, right? Total number of featured SSR percentages and unfeatured SSRs, I just explained that, right? It's 5 and 5. So if you guys are unfamiliar with how this works, so in any given slot, slots 1 through 9, you have a 10% chance of pulling an SSR. So of that 10%, 5% chance of pulling a featured SSR and a 5% chance of pulling an unfeatured SSR. So, let's go ahead and we are doing multi-summons, right? Now, I want to use this number as an example. I think it's going to be a really good jumping off point for a lot of players. 20 summons. Just like for sake of a nice round number, 20 summons is 1,000 Dragon Stones. So that would take you roughly, let's just say on the very low end, if you're a free-to-play player, you maybe can't clear every single, difficult fight in the game. That would take you, let's just say, 3 months. That's on the low end. It's probably going to be more like 2.5 months, something like that. 2.5, 3 months to acquire 1,000 Dragon Stones. That's assuming, you don't spend any for stamina reset, or obviously spending for, YOLO singles or multis or whatever. This is just pure saving stones. All right, so the unit in question, oh, by the way, we've already acquired the summon rate here, okay? So we'll go over that in a bit. We are interested in one featured SSR, only one. And actually, this is the percent chance of just on 1,000 stones of pulling the unit, right? So of pulling Broly, if you enter this celebration with 1,000 stones and you do every single multi, and you use every single Dragon Stone, you have a 63% chance of pulling Broly, right? This is good. That is a very good rate. Just for, sake of argument, if we double that and get to 40, let's just say you do 2,000 stones, right? So you're at an 86% chance. That's obviously very high. If you double that, 60. you are at 95%. So that would be 3,000 stones worth of summons, right? So you're basically guaranteed right at 3,000 stones. But let's go back to 20 multis, right? But just for the sake of, knowing what we're dealing with here. Now, we're not going to worry about this last slot here, the unfeatured SSRs. That would be if you're like, needle in a haystack, you're looking for one particular unfeatured unit. You want to pull Cell Max unfeatured on the banner, right? Or something. Remember, we're talking about the JP banner here, 332 unfeatured units. So, what we need to do is, we know guaranteed, if you got shafted beyond shafted, the bare minimum you are going to get is 20 SSRs, right? So 21 per multi. However, we know that's not how this works. Sometimes you're going to pull more than one SSR, okay? So 20 multis is going to get you 200 units, right? 200. So what we need to do is minus 20, subtract 20. So those are the 20 guaranteed slots, and that gives us 180 slots where we can pull an SSR at 10% rates. We multiply by 0.1, 18, right? So we have 18 plus 20, right? That equals 38 SSRs on average. Now, you could get a little more than this. You could potentially get a little less than this, but that is on average what you are going to get. Pretty much. I don't want to say it's absolute bare minimum, but on average, plus or minus whatever. I'm not a mathematician here. That is what you're going to get, right? 38. Now, keep in mind, this is really going to be relevant to those who have been playing a long time. So if you are a new player and a lot of these banner units you have are not rainbowed, or maybe you're literally the freest of free to play, and you just I don't know, you don't have like a ton of these older units. Maybe there's like a few, white whales that you've never been able to summon or whatever. You've been playing since, whatever. Been playing since the Roaring 20s, and you still don't have, I don't know, the OG AGL Goku SSR. For some dumb reason, you just don't have them, right? Anyway, so this isn't really going to apply to you. This is going to apply to those who have most banner units in the game rainbow, right? So again, those long-time players, or you dolphins or whales out there who just have a lot of the units with, full dupes, 4 dupe paths open and rainbowed. Remember, it's not just enough to have the dupe paths open or have the SSRs in your box. The unit itself actually has to be rainbowed, so just keep that in mind. All right, so some quick math here. If you were able to exchange 38 SSRs and you multiply that by 3, 114, right? So we also add that total to what we had to begin with. So plus 200, right? Because plus 200, there we go, 314. So that is 314 dragon stones, or excuse me, that is 314 coins that you now have in your possession. You are more than, let's see, you are, more than 60% of the way there. You're almost there, right? Now here's the thing. You enter the celebration with 1,000 dragon stones. Guess what? Throughout the course of the celebration, you know how many dragon stones you're probably going to get? Around 1,000 dragon stones, right? That is just the way it goes. These big celebrations are giving out tons of free currency. And remember, this is why that number is so high. 2,500 stones worth of summons. That's a lot of summons. I mean, no matter which way you shake it, right? It's a lot. But this is why that number is set at 500, because they know about all of this, right? They've done all the math here. They know, well, if they enter this celebration with 1,000, they're going to have roughly 300 coins, a little over 300 coins, blah, 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 blah. So this is to get you to spend a bit out of your comfort zone. This is, well, if I go just a little bit further, I'm that much closer to the pity and I can get my guaranteed copy. So just keep this in mind that there are 2 parts to this. I mean, there's going to be at least 4 banners, right? We know that. We know that for sure. And probably 3 parts to the celebration, probably. But the third part typically doesn't have any associated banners, typically speaking. Now, global 9th year anniversary is a bit different. You can borderline count Tech UI Goku as an anniversary unit, right? He was essentially the Part 3 unit. But you double this number, I mean, you multiply this by 2, because, again, it is going to be around 1,000. It's going to be 1,000 Dragon Stones. It might even be a little bit north of that. If you want to say it's a little bit less than that, maybe it's on the lower end and it's 800-900 Dragon Stones. You're still going to be around 600 summon coins. If, now there's a big if attached to this, right? If you are able to save stones. So, in any given celebration, if you look back at like some prior global celebrations, just in the immediate past, right? So we had the First Form Frieza celebration with a very bad Dokkan Fest banner, right? We had the Topo banner, right? It did have the return of 17 and 18, but that character is really not even that good anymore, unfortunately. A little bit better with the emergence of Tech UI Goku, but still, fact remains. You had like the LR Ginyu banner. These are just to name a few, right? You could even make an argument that the LR Cell Max banner, you maybe could make the argument that you should have skipped that. I actually recommended summoning on that banner, only because Cell Max is just so ridiculously busted. You have him in your box and you can beat basically any event in the game. That is like no cap. If you have some sort of competent leader skill for him, I beat Cell Max with a double... LR Cell Max team, right? So it can be done. A lot of these bosses can be beat with double Cell Max teams for sure. So I don't want to like drag this video on for too horribly long, right? But you guys can go ahead and use this for yourself, right? If you guys are curious as to like what your odds are, like for instance, if you just want to know a single summon, I want to do one single YOLO summon, right? Let's do one YOLO. Let's see what the odds really are. Yeah, 0.5%. You have a 0.5% chance of pulling Broly, right, on a single summon. Not very good, right? Is that 1 out of... Oh, Lord, is that a 1 out of 200 chance? Is that it? I believe that's it. So not very good, right? But, it has been done. I've done it, indeed, with the main featured LR, but it's obviously pretty rare. Go ask DBC Archie, right? He YOLO singles quite often and oftentimes does have some fire luck. Let's be real about it. But guys, I don't want to drag this on for much longer, but I think if you wanted to be extra safe, if you enter one of these celebrations with 1,500 stones, again, we can kind of just, let's go, we'll do one more round of math here, and then I'll let you guys figure it out for yourself, right? All right, so we'll do one more quick round of math here, right? So let's just say you enter with 1,500 stone, right? You enter a celebration, 1,500 stones. Again, that's going to be roughly, let's just call it 3 to 4 months of saving up your stones, right? So not summoning, not using for reset, whatever. All right, so in 30 multis, because that's 1,500 stones worth, right? We have 300 characters, right? So we need to subtract, just real quick, we need to subtract 30, right? So those are the 270 slots that you could potentially pull an SSR, right? So on average, it's, again, 10% rates, so we need to multiply by 0.1, right? So we have 27, and then we add it back to our 30, right? So 57 SSRs, and then you multiply that by 3, and boom, 171 coins on top of your already 300, right? Remember, you're doing 30 multis with 1,500 stones. So you add that to 300, look where you're at, man. Boom, 471. You're almost a pity, right? So I maintain, like, we'll go ahead and wrap up the video now. But I maintain, man, you don't need 2,500 stones, right? You're going to need around 1,500 stones, but I feel like 1,000 stones is maybe a good place to jump in at, right? So if you have 1,000 stones going into a celebration between 1,000 and 1,500, going into a big celebration, Tanabata, anniversary, obviously worldwide download celebration, I think you're going to be in for a good time. So remember, this is just to acquire pity. We already looked at the summon calculator, right? You already have almost an 80% chance of pulling the unit with 1,500 stones. And that is not counting buy 3, get 1 free, right? So just keep all of that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, man. I really don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is. Now, if you literally spend $0 on the game and you, are ripping a single every time you get 5 stones, I can't help you here. I think that this new pity system really strongly incentivizes you to save. Stop summoning. I've never been this guy, right? To tell you to just like, oh yeah, save your stones, never spend, blah, 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 blah. You should summon on the characters you want. However, this pity system just adds a whole new layer to this save your stone stuff, dude. I am telling you what. So 471. And that's on the average end. You could potentially have above average summons where you're pulling SSRs like crazy. And you have, all of a sudden, you've got, all you'd need is, 8 more SSRs, right? And you've got it. You've got the 500. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I don't want to, drag this on for too long. But slap a like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of all of this in the comments below. Just this is not really a forewarning. This is a warning now at the end of the video. I'm not a math guy. My math could be off, but this is some fairly simple math. And I feel pretty good about it. But consider subscribing if you're new. Correct me if I am wrong in the comments below. I got no problems taking criticism. I'm not a mathematician. But again, let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Slap a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.